Welcome to Tuscany, a region where history, art, and breathtaking landscapes come together to create one of the most iconic destinations in Italy. Tuscany is one of those places that feels familiar even if you've never been. It's the kind of region that shows up in movies, postcards, and paintings. Rolling green hills, winding cypress-lined roads, medieval villages perched on hilltops, and golden sunsets over endless vineyards. But seeing it in person is something else entirely. Located in central Italy, Tuscany is one of the country's most iconic and historically rich regions. It's often called the birthplace of the Renaissance, thanks to cities like Florence and Siena, where some of the greatest minds in history, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo, left their mark. Walking through these streets, you're surrounded by centuries of art, architecture, and stories that shaped the world. But Tuscany isn't just about its past. It's a place where life still moves at its own pace. You'll find small villages where families have been making wine and olive oil for generations, locals gathering in piazzas for an afternoon espresso, and long, slow meals where food is meant to be enjoyed, not rushed. The region is famous for its wine, particularly Chianti, and for its simple but flavorful dishes like ribollita, papa al pomodoro, and the legendary Florentine steak. What makes Tuscany so special is its diversity. One moment you're in Florence, standing beneath the towering dome of the Duomo, and an hour later, you're driving through the countryside, passing vineyards and sunflower fields. Head west and you'll find Pisa with its world-famous Leaning Tower, or go further to the coast, and you'll reach Elba Island, where Napoleon was once exiled. Every part of Tuscany has something unique to offer, from its historic cities to its quiet rural landscapes. In this video, we're going to explore some of the most stunning destinations in Tuscany. From the artistic treasures of Florence to the medieval charm of Siena, the breathtaking countryside of Val d'Orcia to the coastal beauty of Elba Island, this is a journey through one of the most beautiful regions in the world. Florence, Firenze. Florence is the heart of Tuscany. It's the kind of city that leaves a lasting impression, whether it's your first visit or your 10th. Everywhere you turn, there's something remarkable. Renaissance architecture, world-famous museums, and the kind of atmosphere that makes you want to slow down and take it all in. This is the birthplace of the Renaissance, a movement that changed art, science, and culture forever. Walking through the historic center feels like stepping into an open-air museum. The Florence Cathedral, or Duomo, dominates the skyline with its massive red-tiled dome, a masterpiece designed by Filippo Brunelleschi. It's one of the most recognizable landmarks in Italy and a symbol of the city's ingenuity. A few steps away, the Piazza della Signoria is home to the Palazzo Vecchio and some of the most famous sculptures in the world, including a replica of Michelangelo's David. The real one, of course, is just down the road at the Accademia Gallery. Seeing it in person is an experience that's hard to describe. Every detail, from the veins in his hands to the intense expression on his face, reminds you why Michelangelo is considered a genius. Florence is also home to one of the most important art museums in the world, the Uffizi Gallery. Inside, you'll find works by Leonardo da Vinci, Botticelli, and Caravaggio, among others. The museum holds some of the most influential paintings in history, including The Birth of Venus, one of the most famous Renaissance artworks ever created. But Florence isn't just about museums and monuments. It's about the way life flows here. Locals gather at historic cafes, markets overflow with fresh produce, and at sunset, people head up to Piazzale Michelangelo for the best view in the city. Watching the sun dip behind the terracotta rooftops, with the Arno River reflecting the warm evening glow, is one of those simple but unforgettable moments. Florence is a city that invites you to wander. Whether you're crossing the Ponte Vecchio, exploring hidden courtyards, or getting lost in the maze of medieval streets, there's always something incredible around the corner. It's no surprise that millions of visitors fall in love with this place every year. Siena. Siena is a city that feels like it's been frozen in time. Walking through its medieval streets, it's easy to see why it's considered one of Tuscany's most beautiful and historically significant places. Unlike Florence, which is known for its Renaissance influence, Siena is all about the Middle Ages. The city's heart is Piazza del Campo, a vast, shell-shaped square surrounded by historic buildings, cafes, and the towering Torre del Mangia. It's one of the most famous squares in Italy, and the setting for Siena's most legendary tradition, the Palio di Siena. The Palio is more than just a horse race. It's a deeply rooted tradition that has been taking place here since the 1600s. Twice a year, the different districts, or contrade of Siena, compete in a thrilling bareback race around the piazza. The event is chaotic, passionate, and fiercely competitive, with each contrada having its own symbols, colors, and long-standing rivalries. Overlooking the piazza is the Palazzo Pubblico, Siena's historic town hall. Inside, you'll find remarkable frescoes that tell the story of the city's medieval past. But the real highlight is climbing the Torre del Mangia. From the top, you get a panoramic view of Siena's rooftops and the rolling Tuscan countryside beyond. A short walk from the square leads to the Siena Cathedral, or Duomo di Siena, one of the most stunning Gothic churches in Italy. Its black and white striped marble facade is striking, but the real magic is inside. The cathedral is filled with intricate sculptures, detailed mosaics, and an astonishing frescoed library dedicated to Pope Pius II, one of Siena's most famous historical figures. Siena is a city where history and tradition are still very much alive. Whether you're strolling through its narrow alleys, admiring its grand churches, or soaking in the lively atmosphere of Piazza del Campo, it's impossible not to be captivated by its medieval charm. Pisa. Pisa is one of those cities that everyone has heard of, thanks to one of the most famous landmarks in the world, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But there's more to this city than just a tilted bell tower. Pisa was once a powerful maritime republic, and its rich history is reflected in its stunning architecture, lively streets, and vibrant university culture. The Leaning Tower is part of Piazza dei Miracoli, or the Square of Miracles, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that includes some of the most important religious buildings in Italy. Right next to the tower is the Pisa Cathedral, Duomo di Pisa, a masterpiece of Romanesque architecture with a striking marble facade and intricate bronze doors. Inside, the elaborate ceiling, carved pulpit, and grand mosaics showcase centuries of artistic achievement. Beside the cathedral stands the baptistry of St. John, the largest baptistry in Italy. Known for its incredible acoustics, the building is designed so that even a single note sung inside echoes beautifully throughout the space. Beyond the Piazza dei Miracoli, Pisa has a side that many visitors overlook. The Arno River, which runs through the city, is lined with elegant Renaissance buildings and historic bridges. A stroll along the Lung'Arno, the streets that follow the river, offers a different perspective of the city, away from the tourist crowds. Pisa is also home to one of Italy's oldest and most prestigious universities, the University of Pisa. Founded in 1343, the student population gives the city a youthful energy, with lively cafes, markets, and a thriving local food scene. While the Leaning Tower is what draws most people to Pisa, the city has much more to offer. From its medieval squares to its riverside charm, it's a place worth exploring beyond its famous landmark. San Gimignano. San Gimignano is one of the most distinctive towns in Tuscany, known for its medieval towers that rise dramatically above the surrounding countryside. Often called the Town of Fine Towers, this small hilltop village has retained its medieval skyline, giving visitors a glimpse into what many Tuscan cities once looked like centuries ago. During the Middle Ages, wealthy families competed to build the tallest towers as symbols of power and status. At its peak, San Gimignano had over 70 of them, but today, 14 remain, creating an unforgettable silhouette against the rolling hills of Tuscany. The most famous is the Torre Grossa, the tallest in the town, which offers spectacular panoramic views from the top. The heart of San Gimignano is Piazza della Cisterna, a lively square surrounded by historic buildings, artisan shops, and cafes. Nearby is Piazza del Duomo, home to the Collegiate Church of San Gimignano. Its interior is covered in beautifully preserved frescoes that depict biblical stories, a masterpiece of medieval religious art. Despite its small size, San Gimignano is famous for its local wine, Vernaccia di San Gimignano. This crisp white wine has been produced here for centuries and was even mentioned in literary works dating back to the Renaissance. Wine tastings in town or at nearby vineyards offer the perfect way to experience this regional specialty. Beyond the main sights, walking through San Gimignano's narrow stone-paved streets is part of the experience. With stunning countryside views in every direction and a timeless medieval atmosphere, this town is one of Tuscany's most charming destinations. Val d'Orcia countryside. The Val d'Orcia is the picture-perfect image of Tuscany: rolling green hills, winding cypress-lined roads, medieval villages, and endless vineyards. It's the kind of landscape that has been immortalized in paintings, films, and postcards, making it one of the most recognizable and photographed areas in all of Italy. This region, located in southern Tuscany, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected for its cultural significance and breathtaking scenery. Driving through Val d'Orcia feels like moving through a Renaissance painting. The landscape shifts with the seasons, lush and green in spring, golden in summer, and covered in soft mist during autumn, creating an almost dreamlike effect. Some of the most charming hilltop towns in Tuscany are found here. Firenze, known as the ideal Renaissance town, is a small but beautiful village with panoramic views over the valley. It's also famous for its pecorino cheese, one of the best in Italy. Montepulciano, another gem of Val d'Orcia, is known for its elegant palaces, narrow medieval streets, and the production of Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, one of Tuscany's most celebrated wines. Cypress-lined roads are one of the region's most iconic features, particularly the winding road leading to the Chapel of the Madonna di Vitelletta. This tiny stone church, surrounded by open fields, is one of the most photographed spots in the region. Val d'Orcia is a place to slow down and take in the beauty of the Tuscan countryside. Whether exploring medieval towns, visiting family-run vineyards, or simply enjoying the silence of the rolling hills, this region captures the essence of Tuscany in its purest form. Lucca. Lucca is one of Tuscany's most charming and underrated cities. While it doesn't have the towering cathedrals of Florence or the famous landmarks of Pisa, it has something else: a relaxed, welcoming atmosphere and some of the best preserved Renaissance walls in all of Italy. Unlike most Tuscan cities, Lucca's massive city walls were never destroyed. Instead of being torn down, they were turned into a tree-lined promenade that circles the historic center. Walking or cycling along the walls offers one of the best views of the city, with glimpses of its medieval towers, church spires, and the surrounding countryside. At the heart of Lucca is Piazza dell'Anfiteatro, a unique oval-shaped square built on the remains of an ancient Roman amphitheater. Today, it's filled with lively cafes and restaurants, making it the perfect place to sit and soak in the atmosphere. Nearby, the Leaning Tower stands out with its unusual rooftop garden, trees growing at the top of a medieval tower, offering one of the best panoramic views in Lucca. The city is also home to some of Tuscany's most beautiful churches. The Lucca Cathedral, or Duomo di San Martino, is a masterpiece of Romanesque architecture with intricate carvings and a stunning interior that houses the famous Volto Santo, a medieval wooden crucifix that has been a religious icon for centuries. Lucca has a slower, more intimate feel compared to some of Tuscany's bigger cities. Its small streets, hidden piazzas, and peaceful atmosphere make it a perfect place to wander without a plan, discovering little cafes, artisan shops, and historic sites along the way. Chianti wine region. The Chianti region is the heart of Tuscany's winemaking tradition. Stretching between Florence and Siena, this area is famous for its rolling vineyards, historic estates, and, of course, its world-renowned Chianti Classico wine. It's a place where winemaking is not just a business but a centuries-old way of life, passed down through generations. Driving through Chianti feels like stepping into a postcard. Vineyards cover the hills in perfectly organized rows, interrupted by olive groves, medieval villages, and the occasional stone farmhouse. The region is dotted with small towns like Greve in Chianti, Radda in Chianti, and Castellina in Chianti, each with its own charm and deep-rooted connection to the wine culture. Chianti Classico is the most famous wine from the region, easily recognized by its black rooster symbol on the bottle. Made primarily from Sangiovese grapes, it has a bold, earthy flavor that pairs perfectly with Tuscany's traditional cuisine. Many wineries offer tastings and tours, where visitors can walk through the vineyards, explore ancient wine cellars, and learn about the meticulous process of winemaking. Beyond the wine, Chianti is also a region of history. Castles and historic estates are scattered throughout the countryside, many of them converted into wineries, boutique hotels, or agriturismos, traditional farmstays where visitors can experience rural Tuscan life firsthand. Chianti is not just a place to drink wine, it's a place to slow down and experience Tuscany at its most authentic. Whether you're tasting wines at a family-run vineyard, enjoying a quiet afternoon in a medieval village, or simply taking in the peaceful scenery, Chianti captures the essence of Tuscany's countryside lifestyle. Elba Island. Elba Island is Tuscany's hidden coastal gem. While the region is best known for its rolling hills and medieval towns, Elba offers something entirely different: crystal clear waters, rugged coastlines, and charming seaside villages. It's the largest island in the Tuscan archipelago, and a place where history and natural beauty come together in a way that feels completely unique. Elba is best known for its connection to Napoleon Bonaparte, who was exiled here in 1814. Though he only stayed for about 10 months, his influence is still visible in places like Villa dei Mulini, his official residence, and Villa San Martino, his summer retreat. Both offer a fascinating glimpse into his time on the island and are now museums open to visitors. Beyond its historical significance, Elba is a paradise for nature lovers. The island has over 150 beaches, ranging from long sandy stretches to hidden rocky coves with some of the clearest waters in Italy. Cavoli Beach and Fedovia Beach are among the most beautiful, known for their turquoise waters and scenic surroundings. For those who prefer adventure, hiking up Monte Capane, the island's highest peak, offers panoramic views of the entire Tuscan archipelago. The main town, Portoferraio, is a colorful seaside settlement with a historic harbor, waterfront cafes, and narrow streets filled with small shops. Other charming villages like Marciana Marina and Capoliveri offer a more laid-back atmosphere, with cobblestone streets and traditional seafood restaurants. Elba's mix of history, outdoor adventure, and island charm makes it one of Tuscany's most surprising destinations. Whether exploring its Napoleon-era landmarks, relaxing on a pristine beach, or hiking through its rugged landscape, Elba offers a completely different side of Tuscany that many travelers overlook. Tuscany is one of those places that's hard to describe in just a few words. It's not just about the landmarks or the famous cities. It's about the feeling of being here, the slow pace of life, the way the light hits the rolling hills in the late afternoon, the scent of fresh bread coming from a tiny bakery in a quiet village. It's the kind of place that makes you want to linger just a little longer, take one more stroll through a medieval piazza, or enjoy one last glass of wine before calling it a night. What makes Tuscany special isn't just what you see, it's what you experience. Walking through the streets of Florence, knowing that centuries of artists and thinkers once did the same. Watching the sunset from a vineyard, surrounded by endless rows of grapevines. Sitting at a tiny cafe in a hilltop town, where the locals seem to have mastered the art of taking life one moment at a time. It's also a region of contrasts. One day you're standing in front of Michelangelo's David, surrounded by some of the most famous art in the world. The next, you're hiking along a cypress-lined road, completely alone with nothing but open countryside in every direction. Then there's Elba, where the Tuscan hills suddenly meet the sea, and it feels like you've stepped into an entirely different part of Italy. If this video has made you want to visit Tuscany, let me know in the comments. Which place caught your attention the most? Have you been here before? Maybe you have a favorite little town or a hidden spot that doesn't get talked about enough. I'd love to hear about it. And if you like this journey through Tuscany, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people find these incredible places. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to join us for more travel documentaries. There's still so much of the world to explore, and I can't wait to take you on the next adventure.